Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, depending on your time of day. Welcome to Office Hours. Les here. What we are going to do today is show you how to replace the idle animation on your avatar. So the place we need to start is to actually find the idle replacement. This is going to be the thing that will take the time. The actual time making the actual prop is relatively quick once we decide on the animation. So that's the first thing we're going to need to do. So the go-to place for most people to get an animation is Mixamo. You can get animation clips from other sites. Reallusion do it, various 3D websites. As long as they're humanoid animations, they will work relatively well. And if they're any other type of animation, a generic or a legacy, then you will need to retarget or change the way the animation and the mesh is structured, but we'll get into that another time. It can be done for anybody that's wondering, but for now we're going to stick with animations that we know are based on humanoid avatars, which are the same as the Sinespace avatars. On the screen we're actually on the Mixamo website, and all we do for finding an animation, top right hand side you top left hand side you toggle between left and right here with characters and animations. We go to animations, and then I'm going to type in idle in the text box, and we'll find any animations that have the word title in their description. From here we're faced with quite a daunting task of wading through all the ones that come up. We scroll to the bottom, you'll see that we've got 11 pages of idle animations, but with Mixamo they're not always moving animations. Some of them are static poses, but we'll flick through a few and then take a couple of minutes to decide which ones we're going to use. I'll give you an example of the ones we're likely to be using, because some of these, this first one is fight idle to standing idle. If we have a look at that, that's going to be no good for us. Simply, we know that because it's to do with fighting. So if we look for a picture with the avatar standing relatively still, check it, and then we can see if there's just a pose or if there's any actual animation with it. You might be able to see on the screen, I'm not sure if it's showing up, but there's a very slight movement of the arms, but other than that it's a pretty static kind of pose, so I don't think that's really any good for replacement. You might as well be standing on the spot. Let's move to the next one, idle. This might be a good one to use as an example, but you wouldn't really be using that in an idle situation. It's a bit too threatening. Moving on to the third. Now this one is not getting away from the bendy hip problem with the or exaggeration, let's call it, on our original avatars, but you can on some of these animations change the sliders on the right hand side. I'm going to change the posture from 100% and I'm going to drop it right the way down, and you'll see the stance actually changes. Now more stoop shouldered and less regal, let's say. You can lower the breathing rate as well. The breathing will be a lot slower, and the stance here, you can alter that further. You can drop that right down. And this is kind of the extreme low end of the animations. You can see how different that is from the beginning. It's still got the hip sway, but it's not so exaggerated, but the posture is quite bad, so we might want to put the posture back up and see if that stops the swing. That's got him standing a bit more straight, and the hip swing isn't so much. By all means, at this point, if anybody wants to ask any questions or comment on this here, you can chip in right now. Okay, so what we actually need to try and do is to decide on one idle that you are all okay with, that you'll walk away with at the end of this tutorial. And this could be a long job. So I'm going to have to go for a pretty standard one. AJ's asking, is there a way to lessen the frequency? Yes, on that previous one. Let's get back to that.
You've also got trim, so you can actually trim the animation down to just a part of it.
Yes, yeah. But let's try and drop the stance down. I think the stance was what was controlling the hip. See how much that moves. That's still a bit exaggerated, but nowhere near as much as it was. Hopefully you can see that. Too much switching from hip to hip continues that anxious look. Yeah. Yes, I totally agree with you, AJ. I know what you mean. But we can move on. There's a lot to pick from here. And once we finish the session, what you guys can do is go off to Mixamo and pick your own idol. If you're stuck with how to do it, or you've never done a prop before, I'm quite happy to send it up for you, and then you can have your own custom idol. So that sort of stops us having to pick something now, because trying to get 10 or so people to pick their own idol is going to take too much time. But if you go to the site after, we'll do that afterwards for you. So I'm going to pick a more standard one, which is, I think that one I'd go on to, the fourth one here. There's plenty more to pick, but we're just going to take an easy one because this one doesn't have a hip sway. And it's the kind of least of offensive, least sensual, but still got some movement there. We can push the overdrive up, which generally tends to be speed up. So we'll see the arms move a little bit more. And I think for now, that's the one I'm going to go with for this demonstration. Everybody good with that?
AJ saying that one's available on the store already.
Okay, in that case, we can look for another. Not that one, the Happy Idol here. The site will know that one. I think one of the Anora avatars has that. But as you see, that one's way too overactive and annoying. So let's keep moving down. Then we get into silly things like Orc Idol, Neutral Idol, a Hanging Idol. Let's look at this one. Oh, that's the one we're on. Okay, let's try the Mutant Idol. All right, I'm going to do this one only for purposes of the demonstration. You guys can go off and pick your own. As you've seen, AJ's got her own ideas, and I'm sure you're all thinking, oh, I don't like that one, I prefer that other one. So you come up with your own choices afterwards. What you need to do is follow this part through. So we're going to download this particular animation by clicking the download button. We change the format for the FBX to FBX for Unity. We change the skin to without skin, because we don't want the mannequin avatar. We don't need that. So we're just going to download the animation itself, which reduces the file size. Once we've got that, we download and give it a save to location, which for now I'm going to go into the Community Projects 2 folder, which is where these project files are, assets, and pull animation override resources. It's going to put it into that folder where I've downloaded 2 or 3 other ones as well for testing. So can leave it with the same name, that's not a problem, just save it. Your browser will tell you when it's done. There you are, that's finished. So now if we switch to Unity, the file automatically gets imported when Unity realizes something new is there. So that's the new file, the Mutant Idol. Now there's a couple of conversions you need to do before we can use it. They're very simple. You need to go to clicking on in the project, you then look at the inspector window and you look at rig. You need to drop the animation type down to humanoid. Once you've done that, click apply. and then go to the animation tab, and depending on your animation you may or may not want it to loop. For an idle animation that could be continuous, we obviously do want it to loop, so we tick here and loop pose. If there is a difference in the end point of the loop back to the beginning, then loop pose will kind of interpolate a half frame between the two to aid the smoothness in the transition. It's always a good idea to check you've got a green light for each type of loop match here, which we have, so all is good. And that's about all you need to do in there. So it's 2 steps. It's on the rig tab, change the animation type to humanoid, and on the animation tab, clarify that you want to loop or not loop the animation. Once you've done that, click apply. Let's now save those changes in our prefab instance here, the version that we actually imported from Mixamo. And you can see at the top I've already got a clone I made earlier, but we'll do a new one. So this is where we actually make the prop. We right click, create empty, give it a name. So I'm going to call that our mutant AO. And on that we need clothing item. Now there's a very quick way of converting any object in here to a prop ready to upload, whether it be clothing or furniture. So I've got the object clicked. I'm going to go to Sinespace, virtual goods, and turn selection into clothing. There's nothing there to convert or to change, but it gives us the clothing item and the virtual good components added in one hit. As you can
Just
see,
a quickie, Les. You can't see your cursor. I know you've got something you can turn on.
Yeah, I can. Take me just a sec. Can you see that?
Yeah, pink.
Excellent. And hopefully when I right click, Sinespace blue and Sinespace pink.
I didn't know it did that.
Okay, our mutant AO. This is, we've now got the components created here. We just need to fill these in with the necessary information. The first thing is we're going to make this animation unisex, not specific to the male avatar or to the female avatar, so everybody can test it. So we click unisex. The next step is very bottom here. We've got animations and controllers. We click on it. It's in fact already open, so you can't. There we go. That's what you'd normally see, and you just open it up like that. Very little to do in here as well. The first thing you'd need to ascertain is how many new clips you wanted to put into this prop. For now, all we want to do is replace the idle animation. So one single animation will make the list of available animations set at 1. So put 1 in there, press enter, and it'll bring up these 2 fields to put the information in for the first animation, the only animation that we're doing today. So this drop down allows us to pick the replacement. So this is going to be the animation that we want to override is the idle animation halfway down here. And had we put 3, 4 or more in the size box, we would have had another area of fields to fill in, which we could then pick fly loop, fly backwards, fly forwards, fly left. You can see it's very, very customizable in the end, but time consuming to get all of those elements working with each other. So you only need to actually enter as many as you need. You don't have to worry about the whole lot. So we've got idle selected. We need to go back to our mutant idle that we imported, open that up on the arrow at the left there, and the animation clip itself has the play icon against it, so it's mutant idle there. We need to go back to the hierarchy and pick our prop, go back to that field animation clip, and that's what we need to drag from the project into the humanoid animation clip box there. And that is it. So big anticlimax on how difficult that was, I would hope for you, which is a good thing. So we're going to go and just complete the virtual good box, which is the same for anything, but fix now to change the type. The category will then pick down as clothes and features. We can give it a name, which is our mutant idol idol AO. You can't actually test it in Unity. That's the problem. Because it has to interact with the in-world tools, because you're not actually running the same instance of the viewer. How do I explain it better than that? Yeah, it has to be the instance of the avatar in the viewer that gets the override. In theory, you might be able to load it on your preview avatar and then come in, and it might work that way if you've got that ticked in your play selection in Unity. So very level. What program are you in now? Oh, sorry, Major. Yeah, we're in Unity. Okay, Unity is what's traditionally an IDE, an integrated development environment, and it's kind of the tool that we use to make everything. That's the Unity 3D engine. Right, back to the prop. I'm just going to copy the name into the description for now, and put a brand in, which will be Sine Mode Entertainment. And go to details. I always tend to change my in-world customization to source, but there's no need, and unless you want to allow people to alter this in the future. It's not something that's active right now. Pricing, we don't want to put it for sale, so not for sale. Don't need any icons. There's no red marks there. We go to author. I will change it to unique to Sinespace. Sine Entertainment. And that should be it. We just want to upload that now. Now to make it an uploadable prop, I'm just going to change the name up here to add VG on the end, so we now know it's a virtual good. And then we drag that into our project folder to create a prefab ready to upload. Then right click and upload to Sinespace. Save the changes to this scene before we do that, which I will do for now so we can return to it. It's an extremely small upload, 0.2 of a megabyte, which also means it should go through the curator relatively quickly. So there's our mutant idol AO. It's in processing already, so give or take 5 minutes, that'll be ready for us to look at. So once again, I'm going to go into my inventory, load the AO. There you go. Can you all see that yet?
Yeah, it's doing it now.
There we go. So as you can see, the biggest job during all that was just waiting for the curator to do its stuff and filling the time up in between. Just to demonstrate, at the moment you go into walk or to do other animations, you stop doing that. So as you can see, the idol has been replaced. And all you need to do is to have that on your outfit saved on your outfit that you're wearing, and then that will be there every time you load that outfit. It is straightforward, AJ. A lot of playing around with stuff in Unity is dragging and dropping things into slots and putting the right number in. Sometimes things are pretty much that simple, but you just have to know which slots and what numbers. So to conclude, I'll just take you through things again very quickly. Let's get my Unity up and we'll do a quick summary. So we go back to the hierarchy at the top. We created an empty object and gave it a name. We then went to the Sinespace menu and virtual goods, turn selection into clothing, which then gives us this component, clothing item settings, and below the virtual good script, which is the two components that you need to upload this as clothing item to Sinespace. You need to decide whether you're basing it on a female avatar, a male, or it can work on both. Then you come down to animations and controllers at the bottom of this list. And in there, we added one element to the list of custom animations by putting a number 1 in there, which opens up element 0's slot and clip. The slot itself, we dropped the list down and we picked idle. And the animation clip we picked up from the imported animation, the mutant idle here. It's inside that FBX mutant idle. We dragged that across, and then we filled out the virtual good forms and we sent the product up, and that's the result. So for those that want to have a go at it, obviously we'll help you along if you get stuck. For those that don't want to have a go at it, but do want their own custom animation, look at the Mixamo website, mixamo.com. You will need an Adobe ID to sign in there, but it's free, etc. You don't have to pay any money, and then it will allow you to look at the animations and download some. If you are feeling adventurous, you can download the file and send that to me, or if you're not sure, just get the title of the animation and get that across to me and I'll get it for you. I think that concludes. Hopefully you've all learned something, and next week we'll have Adam here.